everybody, and welcome back to another Nextlander Podcast. They said it couldn't be done, but we have done it. Yet another Nextlander Podcast. Thanks to everybody out there. We are here. Alex Navarro is here.
It's true. No one has ever done 73 episodes of a podcast before. We are the first.
Mold breaking. A version of Brad Shoemaker is here.
I am technically here, yes.
Wow.
In a physical capacity, yes.
I can feel my eardrums rumbling. It's amazing.
You want to turn the subwoofer down a little bit over there? Just take it down. Brad, you're not...
How low can you go?
You are under the weather. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Once again, back is the incredible...
the Primedible.
Yes. Boy, this is the first time I've gotten like legit sick since before the pandemic, actually, I think.
You, so for folks that don't know, you were traveling, but you got sick between the airplane rides.
The day I left, which was yesterday.
So before getting on the plane, though, you were not feeling well. Tested, obviously, and all that, but you didn't get sick from riding the plane, which is...
No, it definitely happened last weekend, most likely.
And you have been COVID testing to make before you did any of that travel.
Yes. Yesterday I came back negative. Have not tested yet today. We'll do that later.
Shove it up your nose, bub.
Oh man,
bub snicked up your nose, snicked bub.
Snicked, but boy, sorry, the gears are turning slowly today.
Don't worry, you're right at my speed now. Finally, stuck in the mud just like me.
Mm-hmm.
We are here. We are going to talk about God of War Ragnarök.
Whoa.
Ragnarök.
Some of it, anyway.
What we can talk about, which is, for early on.
A limited selection.
Don't know how long this game is, but it's definitely a few hours of God of War Ragnarök. We've got some Callisto Protocol to talk about a little bit later on. Some updates on other games like Scorn, Mario, and Rabbids. Maybe some Grounded. But before we get to that, how is everybody doing? Aside from Brad, we know you're doing fantastic.
Is there anything you would like me to say?
In the voice?
Yeah. I cannot start within a world.
Okay.
No. Do you know any Barry White lyrics?
A few. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you say
can you do the Keith David
I was where I was going. World, what is it?
World motherfucking wide.
Yes.
You know the side.
World motherfucking wide. That's okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay.
Woozle wuzzle.
The gangster, the killer, the dope dealer.
Yes. The trifecta.
Can you
the Trinity.
Just recite
Trinity.
Keith David's whole monologue about how we're all at the starting line and they let us off to the races about capitalism from They Live.
Oh,
and
man.
It's like they're chasing us. It's like they put us all at the starting line. And just recite all Keith David's parts from They Live.
Can you just recite every line he's ever said in a movie ever?
Thank you. Yes.
God, what was it? The Thing, right? Was his first big role. He didn't sound totally Keith David at that point.
He was
younger.
Though. Yeah.
I feel like his signature tone really developed more with age.
Is he acting much these days?
He still shows up in stuff every now and again. Yeah,
okay.
He does a regular voice on Rick and Morty. He's the president.
Oh, right. Yes. Right. Very Keith David.
Yeah.
Put Keith David in more video games.
Make him figures of authority. He belongs there.
Would you say Keith David is best now used in comedic Keith David or serious drama Keith David?
I don't know. I think serious drama Keith David is still worthwhile. He has a very brief turn in Nope that I think is effective in like kind of his one scene.
I haven't seen it.
I agree. I think Saints Row got all of the mileage out of the haha it's Keith David kind of thing.
Definitely.
I think serious Keith David is the way to go these days.
But serious Keith David surrounded by comedy or serious Keith David in a drama? Because like
I think you can go either way.
In Men at Work, it's kind of serious Keith David, but it's a comedy. And I feel like that kind of works when because he's a pretty intimidating dude.
You just made me think of Men at Work for the first time in probably 15 to 20 years.
I'm glad. It's poop.
Yeah, it's not a good movie.
No, I'm saying it's the thing in the locker.
I know. It's also not a good movie.
Oh, I thought you meant the band.
Oh, yes. Keith David was not in Men at Work.
As far as we know.
He's not from a land down under. Is Men at Work not a good movie?
I don't remember it being very good, but maybe my remembrance of it is colored by the fact that I haven't seen it in somewhere around 20 years.
Is it the only Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen together movie?
Oh, wait, are they not in Hot Shots?
Estevez has a cameo, I think, in one of the Hot Shots.
Ignore me. I don't know where I got that from. I don't think
He
that's
was
right.
killed in some spoof, in a Mission Impossible spoof scene. Or was he killed in Mission Impossible?
He was literally killed in the first Mission Impossible
Okay,
movie.
that wasn't a spoof? That
No.
was real?
No,
Okay.
they just killed Emilio Estevez in that movie.
I really thought that was a spoof.
It's a pretty
of
good
Mission
death,
Impossible.
too.
He's in the elevator, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty gross. Boy.
But yeah, you might be right. That might be that's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there are other appearances, but
They are
brothers.
half brothers or
No,
full
they're brothers.
Okay.
Oh, like actual brothers?
So, Martin Sheen's real last name is Martin Estevez.
Right.
And so, like, Emilio kept the name, the original name, and then Charlie decided to go with his dad's stage name.
Oh, wow. I thought they were like second cousins or something.
No, they are straight up brothers.
Acting family.
And then there's Joe Estevez, the greatest actor of the entire group.
Wait, is Joe Estevez A real person and B an actor?
Both of these things are true. Joe Estevez is Martin Sheen's brother. And he is I'm going to say just under Clint Howard level B-movie actor who is in a ton of extremely questionable stuff. And also, by questionable, I mean just mostly bad B and C movies of the 80s and 90s, but also has had this weird resurgence where he has been... Okay, do either of you guys know what On Cinema at the Cinema is?
I've heard of it.
Is that one full title or is
Yes.
On Cinema / at the cinema?
It is a fake movie review show hosted by Tim Heidecker and Greg
Okay.
Turkington of
Okay.
and so
I see.
Is that the one with the Joker meme when the guy's
Yes.
in the car? Okay.
so
Yeah, some people just refer to this as On Cinema, right? I've
Yes.
heard of that for sure, yeah.
So On Cinema started out as this joke movie review show, and it has spiraled out into this incredibly expansive and insane metafiction about these fake Tim Heideckers and Greg Turkington and the twists and turns of their lives and the horrible things they do over time. And Joe Estevez repeatedly as himself shows up in their stuff.
Is Tim Heidecker the closest thing to like a kind of Andy Kaufman we have going on?
Yes, it's not the same thing. Like, Kaufman was very much about kayfabe and never really kind of letting you know, like, whether he was doing a persona or if he was, like, being serious. Whereas Heidecker...
I can't tell sometimes.
Well, with Heidecker, it's like in all the fiction stuff he does, it is a persona, even if he calls himself Tim Heidecker. Because as a person, he's pretty, like, straightforward and normal. Like, he only gets weird when he is doing the character.
He's got like an album out now, right? Is he? Was
And
he
I
doing
think it's
music?
a pretty sincere one, actually.
I can't tell. Like,
Yeah.
I can't quite tell. That's why I ask.
But yes, he definitely like walks that line.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird. There are like 13 seasons of On Cinema, plus all the various spin-off things. There is a 5-part murder trial of Tim Heidecker because he got a bunch of people killed at a music festival that he sponsored at one point.
Did he actually run for office or something?
No,
or was that
he just
also
made a movie
bit?
about him running for office
Oh, my
against
gosh.
the district attorney who was prosecuting him for murder.
But all fake.
All fake.
Okay. Man, it's the Heidecker universe is complex.
It is.
I just pulled up his Wikipedia page and like don't recognize the photo they have here of him because everything I've ever seen him in, he doesn't just look like dude in a hoodie and a hat. I was like, oh, right.
He
He's just
has
a dude.
He has a really good bit in one of those I Think You Should Leave sketches. I don't know if you've seen it, where he's the music snob, the jazz music snob, when they're playing what is it, like 20 questions ish game.
He's great. I love him in just about everything. I especially loved his turn in Us as the, like sort of the goofy dad of the white couple in that movie, and the murder version of him is genuinely one of the creepier things in that movie.
I feel like he should be used more.
Yeah.
In more stuff.
I think
feel
he's
like
pretty content doing the weird stuff he wants to make and it being reasonably successful. Like, they have a subscription service now for On Cinema.
Oh my gosh.
They're not even on Adult Swim anymore, so they just do it on their own website. And
streaming services are getting out of hand.
I know.
But is it a real streaming service or is the whole thing a front? Okay.
But it's also kind of a parody of streaming services at the same time.
I can't.
Yeah. Anyway, Joe Estevez, great actor.
Joe Estevez. What happened to, where's the other, where Tim's partner from?
Eric Wareheim?
Yeah.
He was directing commercials for a while, and then they did like a reunion tour a couple of years ago, and they still occasionally do stuff together, I think.
Okay. Hasn't kind of just vanished into the background?
No, I think they just kind of creatively moved in different directions for the most part.
Interesting. Well,
anyway.
There you go.
There's your Joe Estevez minute.
There's your Keith David, Joe Estevez, Tim Heidecker moment.
Did you know...
Probably not. Yes.
Boy, sorry. I had to be quick on that cough button. Did you know Martin Sheen is not even a Martin?
What?
Not only is he not a Sheen.
What is he?
I closed the tab, actually.
Okay.
really knocking it out of the park.
Is it
really knocking it out of the park on the podcast front today?
Is it
Sorry.
Esther Estevez?
Ramon Antonio Gerardo Estevez.
Whoa,
that is several names.
Is a much more powerful name than Martin.
Seriously,
but you know what? It takes up too much space on a marquee is the problem.
I guess. All right, should we get into the video games?
I suppose.
Sure.
Let's do it. Let's talk about some God of War Ragnarok.
And let's emphasize here that we can only talk about some of it because there is a fairly expansive embargo sheet of things we can and cannot discuss. So a lot of this will be early game, and there are specifics from the early game we also can't talk about yet.
Yes, this game comes out on November 9th, which is still a couple of weeks away. Obviously, PlayStation games, $70 release on that front. On the PlayStation 5, at least $70. You know, is it $70 on PS4?
I don't believe so. Let me see if I can confirm that.
Yeah, so there's an embargo. We can talk about some stuff. I've reached the embargo point. I'm past that, so I will say this is a chunk into the game. You know, I can only judge the length of the game off of the other previous God of War. And I don't know if that's fair or not, but that was a fairly lengthy game.
It might be good to start with kind of where we all landed on that game, because, I mean, I reviewed the original God of War games, the first two, and then I kind of fell off around 3. I never really got into any of the other side stuff that they did for, like, Vita or whatever else, and I thought 2018 was a really interesting idea for a divergence that did not have enough of an interesting game to fully support it.
Okay, I've thought of a use for the voice.
Okay.
How many times so far that you can talk about has he said boy?
There you go. Yes.
Boy.
This one is, I'm going to say, unfortunately for you.
Is it young man now?
No, I'm going to say
he still says boy, but
unfortunately for you, the bigger one this time would be brother. Is just constantly, because it's Mimir on your butt, constantly talking.
Mimir is still the best part of any of these games.
Brother. So I liked the God of War reboot. I thought it was maybe a little too long for its own good. I thought some of the story beats just kind of were a little out there, but I enjoyed it. I am to steal a wrestling term, I guess. I'm a mark for the kind of what were people calling them? Prestige?
It's sad dad games, I think.
Like the Sony Prestige games, the AAA Prestige.
The house Sony style of AAA.
I like that stuff. I like third person adventure games. This was a fun romp. You know, this is like a big budget summer romp of a game.
That also has to be about sad dad feelings.
Sad dads. But I thought they in the first one set themselves apart from the previous aggro dad, or started to get down a path. Not a dad in the first ones, obviously, but aggro Kratos, aggro Crag.
Sad dad had bad lad.
Yes,
help me out. Keep going.
No, that's all.
Sad
of them.
dad had bad lad.
Sad dad had bad lad. Was he bad? Was the lad bad?
Or was he glad?
Dads and grads.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got nothing else, man.
Is God of War a fad?
Ooh.
or is it rad? Discuss. Rad or fad?
Is he a dad or is he a Zad?
Rad or fad is, man, you should go make that YouTube channel now while you can.
That's my new skater. It's what they yell in my new skater die.
Rad
or fad. Brad, how did you feel about that God of War reboot?
I liked it okay. I didn't get through it, like you said. Maybe it seemed it was a little long. I have thought about going back and trying to finish it before this comes out. I don't know if that's... How necessary is that? I assume most sequels are built to just pick up and play these days, but...
So there's a straight up recap in the opening menu.
Yeah,
I don't think it gets detailed enough in the recap, honestly, but it hits the major notes for the setup for this game, I think. But
yeah, the broad strokes.
I finished that game, and I think I might have even platinumed that game, and I feel like I did most of everything, and they still reference some stuff sometimes where I'm like, oh...
Did that happen?
Oh, it's that person again?
It has been 4 years.
I mean, it's steeped in Norse mythology, but also in their version of it, so you kind of have to keep a little bit of track. They do a pretty decent job of when you encounter a character putting it into the codex to say, okay, this was this person from this game.
This is what the mythology is.
This is why they are relevant here. So yeah, that's I think that's kind of the setup. I think I probably liked it the most out of the two of you. Kind of really enjoyed it. It's my style of game, and I think narratively some of the beats were off, but overall I was kind of into it. So pretty excited for this one in terms of what we're getting into, and to not be too reductionist. And it's the same thing we always say, and this, that, and the other thing, but. My time with this game so far, from what we can talk about, if you were not digging what that other God of War was putting out, then you will probably not dig this.
Okay, that was kind of my big question coming into this, is just how different is it?
Not to be all for fans of the genre, but it is extremely for fans of the genre.
So from what we can talk about, it is pretty similar. The combat has a few tweaks and changes. It seems like... So Atreus is a little older. He's your son, and he joins you in combat pretty much from the get-go. He's a support character, and you basically trigger Atreus's attacks while you're attacking by certain button combinations. I feel like they are asking of you to use that more in the game. Otherwise, the difficulty might feel a little harsh, but I think once you get Atreus in there stunning, there's a stun meter, and this was in the other game as well, but if you get them into a stun state, usually and their health is low enough, you can do like the God of War R3 click-in attack, where you rip somebody in half or put an axe or somebody's head.
Atreus had a skill tree in the first game too, right? That was like pretty fleshed out there.
And again, we're talking up until the embargo stuff, so what I say might not hold true past that, so... take that with a grain of salt. What we're talking about in the gameplay we're talking about.
We're really just for early impressions here.
Yeah, or in terms of gameplay too, things can change after the parts we can talk about. So Atreus has a skill tree here. It's mostly a support skill tree again. It's like, hey, Atreus will jump on a guy, he'll distract a guy, and do all this stuff. And you have the Chaos Blades from the jump. So in the first game, you started with just the axe, and in this one, you start with the Chaos Blades. Again, it has its own skill tree.
You don't start, but you get it pretty early on, like half an hour in.
Yeah, it's fairly early on.
How deep in the first game was that? Because I didn't get to the obviously
late game.
It was pretty late, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably the right call. That is definitely some late game fan service, right?
Yeah,
like I knew they were in there, but I didn't get that far.
Yeah, so I would say in this one, for me, so far it has been Chaos Blades for kind of crowd management and axe for more singular targets. Like if there are a lot of little enemies, I'm mostly doing Chaos Blades. If there are fewer, bigger, meteor enemies, I'm mostly doing the axe.
There's also an elemental part to that as well, because the Chaos Blades they sort of deal in fire, whereas the axe does ice, and like there are like these frozen zombie enemies that will show up from time to time, and you kind of need to hit them with the heat attacks to really knock them down.
Yeah, they have like resistances you want to break, and that's where you use the Chaos Blades. So there is a move on the axe. I don't think this was in the first one, that you can charge up Frost on the axe to kind of get a more elemental ability on it. It's a little more technical, I think, maybe than the first one in terms of what's going on with the attacks, the upgrades, the things you can slot, runes you can slot into the weapons. They had some of this in the first one. There was loot in the first one.
Yeah, it just feels like they're going further in that direction.
Yeah, they're pushing a little harder into it. You have rune abilities. You have runes you can slot into the weapons. So you have magic abilities. You have, I forget exactly what they're calling them all, but you also have like buff abilities you can get where it's like, okay, now you have this buff equipped. When you pop it, you get, you're stronger for like 10 seconds. So you can put runes into the axes that are, or the blades that give you like, hey, you have a chance to proc frost or heal on a hit. You have like, you can change the pommel of the axe. You can change the grips on the chaos blades. Your shield from the first game is immediately broken. And so you kind of get that swapped out, and the dwarves are back, and they're like, I'll just take your broken shield. I'll work on fixing. I know it has sentimental value, but here, take one of these other ones. Mm-hmm. This one is really good at parrying. If you think you're going to be good at that, this one builds up a charge for just blocking people, and then you can use that ability. So they kind of give you the option of like, are you going to tank or are you going to try and parry? And that's kind of out of the gate there, and you get other shields and stuff later, but. I think it's getting a little more technical out of the gate, where at some point you jump into battle and you have a decent amount of things in your tool belt, but it can almost be a little overwhelming at the jump. And I found some of the combat to be breezy and some to just feel hard. And it feels a lot of dodgy. Like there are attacks you could just block and parry. There are yellow ring attacks. Sorry if I'm getting the color wrong, Alex. I think it's yellow, could be green. Like circles that happen on the attack, and those are blockable, but they will kind of take a little stamina out of you.
It is a yellow ring, by the way. You are correct.
Okay. And then there are red ones where you can't block it at all, and you have to dodge it. So the combat feels a little more technical, and again with Atreus there, I think you have to really use everything that's in your belt to make the combat feel manageable on normal difficulty. I'm playing on normal. There are like 5 difficulty levels. I'm playing on the normal one. Story-wise, it pretty much picks up, even though it feels some years later, it pretty much picks up exactly where the last one left off.
Like there's a gap in time, but it really just kind of thrusts you into the, hey, remember everything happened in the last game? All right, cool, here we go.
I mean, is Atreus like noticeably bigger?
Yes,
a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. He's like a teen, or a tween teen. I don't know, a Nordic teen. So all the events of the other game, and there's gonna be some light spoilers because these things do come into play in this game. It's hard to talk about it without it. Are present and ready to go in this game. So all of the revelations about Atreus are just front and center and still and very prominent.
And he is very much interested in plumbing further into that like, you know, his origins, his place role in the world, and also, you know, the stuff. Okay, Ragnarok sounds cool as shit. I understand why you put that as the subtitle. I'm going to tell you right now, they keep using this word, and I'm sure it's a very appropriate term, and it is part of the mythology. The phrase Fimbulwinter, which I'm sorry, no, that is the name of a racist wizard. That is not the name of something that is like cool and metal and scary.
So at the end, I'm just going to say this outright. At the end of the first one, Baldur is dead. The son of Freya.
Jeremy Davies character, right?
Yeah, cool character in the I think so. I don't know the actors, but the cool character in the first one, Baldur is dead. It's Freya's son. She's very, very mad that this happened.
She has not let it go.
Yeah, and apparently Baldur's death has caused Fimbulwinter to happen and kind of I don't say infect, but descend upon the realms.
It's kind of a perma-winter state that is, I think, the Midgard precursor to Ragnarok.
Yeah, so Fimbulwinter in Midgard manifests as a winter with a deep freeze. You do travel to another realm pretty early on, the Dwarven realm, and in there it kind of causes earthquakes and gaseous emissions and stuff like that. So apparently it manifests a little differently in different realms. And I understand why they would do that, because you don't want an entire game through all these realms to just be snow, right? You're trying to have your different environments, right? And you can't have that if every place is just frozen. So good narrative choice for them to say, they kind of address it early on too. It's like, it looks like Fimbulwinter just manifests differently in different realms. Like, okay, fair enough. So now we can have our lava level and our whatever level. So Atreus and Kratos are kind of, and very early on, it feels like you're just hiding out from Freya, who just wants to just is ready to kill you, just wants to kill you. But also in the events of the first game, you have also murdered a lot of other people, and Odin is also pretty pissed off at you. So the game kind of sets up with Atreus wanting to figure out how to get Odin out of the picture, right? Like he thinks that with Odin out of the picture, Ragnarok can be avoided, or, you know, Ragnarok being the kind of war to end all wars. And if I'm getting the mythology wrong, I'm sorry, but it's the giants fighting against the Aesir, who are the gods of the plane. But from the events of the first game, the giants are all gone. So we don't know how that's supposed to happen. But Kratos very much doesn't want this. He does not want Atreus to go to war with Odin or the gods. And Atreus is like a teenager who's just going to go out there and make his dad mad.
He's a teenager, but also he's a teenager who has an incredibly, murky history and sort of like role in all of this that he is very anxious to figure out, especially considering it seems like his mom maybe had some idea of what was going on there and did not communicate to Kratos or anyone else what the deal was. Yeah,
we're kind of dancing around some big spoilers intentionally for the game, and but he's got a fate that he has been hinted at, and he really wants to figure out what his role and what this all is, and he doesn't know, and nobody knows, and Kratos doesn't know, and so the person who might have known was his mom, Kratos' wife, who is gone from the picture, and so in the course of this, So from where I am now, Odin is the big bad that is trying to be is going to be harassing this journey, right? Mm-hmm. To kind of figure it out. Atreus is trying to find support or find answers, and one of the things that he wants to do and set forth and do is find Tyr, who is the god of war in
Norse mythology. Yes.
Norse mythology, who is missing. And so that's kind
Odin has said is dead.
Yeah, is like don't and stop looking. Just let it go, man. So pretty early on you get into this fight with Thor, which is set up, and I like Thor was teased in the first game. You got a pretty good characterization here. I think you get some characterization on Odin, which I think Alex you have some thoughts on that characterization?
I don't have any real issue with it. Like, I think I can't talk about everything that happens around him in the early game, but I can say that the fight with him is a little frustrating in the way that I kind of tend to find the combat in these two games a little bit frustrating. With Thor, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that I think there's some interesting ideas there, and there's some really nice combat animation, but the actual progression of fights does not really feel like it escalates much over time. It really just kind of feels like, okay, if you get to a multi-stage boss, you just like their attacks really change up, but your stuff kind of doesn't. And so it's like you're really just kind of fumbling between either the axe or the chaos blades, depending on what the situation calls for. And you're really just kind of R1 and R2ing your way through a lot of stuff and occasionally flinging stuff.
Until you get to the next, a health bar trigger.
Yeah, and kind of running around in those little combat arenas, trying to pick up health and, avoid attacks and stuff. I just find it a little bit tedious, and I had that problem in the original game, and I don't feel like it's really been alleviated here.
Yeah, so but I do like the character, though. But the
character is an interesting portrayal.
Yeah.
And I think the thing I got from just sort of what the taste you get of these characters in the opening and the direction the story seems to be going in, it feels like the developers are very much trying to frame this as each of these pantheons is basically its own little crime family with its own little fiefdom somewhere in, let's say, Europe, but also the world. And so, the Greek gods were just a really pissy fucking, murderous, scheming, dysfunctional family. And here it's kind of similar, but it's just a different vibe.
Yeah, with unlimited power. They're fully corrupted, they're decadent, they have no regard for mortals.
And here it's a little less of the decadence and a little bit more of the, just stay the fuck out of our business kind of thing. And without getting too deep into it, I will just say the choice to get the West Wing's own Richard Schiff to play Odin is a very interesting choice, specifically with the way that they seem to direct him, because he straight up feels like a justified villain. He is in there to monologue and give you this very Like, it really feels like he's confronting the main character of a prestige TV show when he shows up, and the way he talks to Kratos.
So within the embargo stuff that we can talk about, you wind up going to the Dwarven realm to go you get some hints, you go to try and find Tyr in the Dwarven realm, and you quickly find out that basically Odin has been shaking down the dwarves and kind of has enlisted them, and he's a tyrant, right? There was a resistance. They tried to fight against them, and he kind of crushed the resistance. And
I think that is part of the mythology, because like they touch on that also in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I assume that they are pulling from a lot of this. I mean, obviously they're pulling from the same mythology, but I think they are pulling specific story details out of that stuff as well. Obviously it's framed differently, but there is some dwarf stuff in that Valhalla game as well.
Yeah, so you get some, like, the subjugation of the dwarves, where really there was no choice, but some of the setup makes it sound like, hey, we're gonna make a bit. Is it gonna be good for you? It's gonna be good for me. Like, we're both gonna benefit from this. Where they kind of lost a lot of their ability to govern themselves, and a lot of that early game also, within staying in the embargo, is a reckoning with Mimir. Like, he did some bad stuff, and and especially in the Dwarven realm, because he was, he worked for Odin, and you're off to go. There's a lot of trying to right his wrongs, because he has come around, or has had not since the time you found him, because now he's just a head, but he is a lot of his stuff is like, I'm so sorry I did this. Like, it's to the point where I'm just looking over the embargo list. I can't talk about this. So he set up like mining operations in the Dwarven realm that are polluting the Dwarven realm. He's like, could you just shut these down for me? Like, it basically,
he's fracking the Dwarven realm.
He's fracking the Dwarven realm. He's like, just go around and shut these down, because I made some mistakes and it was real bad. And if you could just destroy these.
Hang on. You're saying he's an industrial magnate with a conscience. Now I know this is a fantasy.
So I think it took him becoming a severed head for that to happen, but yes.
Yeah, so he has realized. So it's interesting, because the first game was, I think, felt more about a reckoning with Kratos, and now we're kind of past that.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of almost reckoning with all these other characters, like, oh, Atreus has to figure some shit out, and Mimir has all this guilt running around, and you wind up meeting a bunch of other characters that we can't necessarily talk about, but they all have baggage, where now Kratos almost seems like the stable one, where Kratos is like, hey, listen, man, I don't want war. You fools do whatever you need to do. I'm keeping my son out of it. And
he needs to find a region of Europe that's a little more atheist, because every time he tries to hide out somewhere where there's gods, it all goes afoul.
Yeah, and not to mention that he's not struggling with his son and all of that, but it almost takes a backseat to everything else that's going on. And
he feels like in a way, it's almost weird that he's the main character that you play, because so much of the storytelling feels like it is very much around him. And, like, he's more, if anything, he's more just kind of an impediment to every other character getting somewhere than like an actual person invested in what's going on.
He's the most resistant early on, for sure.
He really just seems like he just wants to get this Atreus stuff sorted so they can go back into hiding and not have to do this anymore.
Yes, it is very much like, okay, you want to go look at the thing? We'll go look at the thing, and then we're going to go home, okay? Yeah. You're going to find out, you're going to be disappointed, and then we could go home, and then we could just sleep in our weird fur beds and be fine.
Yeah.
So the thing that is, I'm liking it so far. Actually, I do agree with you, Alex. I think the combat is for me the least interesting part. I like the environmental puzzles more. I like the narrative stuff going on more.
I don't know about the environmental puzzles either. Like, I haven't seen anything that was really that complicated or interesting yet, so I'm reserving judgment at this time. But like, that was my other problem with the original game, is that the level design, I felt like, just wasn't that inventive. Like, a lot of it felt very much like, there are two alternate paths, go get your chests, and then go to where you need to go. Like, there was great art design in those worlds. Like, the visuals were fantastic, but the actual, like, navigation and sort of, like, looking for chests and just kind of mucking around until you hit the next combat arena was just never that interesting, and I don't feel like it's really hit much for me here either.
I thought the lake in the first game was a little bit of a break from that.
Yeah. That was a good exception.
That was a bit of a more open area where you could actually explore and get out on the water and stuff.
So that's the Dwarven realm. So you are again on a boat pretty early on, just kind of making landfall at different areas. It maybe not as expansive as that though. So
I will say also, just on the subject of like the looks, there are a bunch of different performance modes in this game. Well, actually, there's two specific performance modes. There's the resolution and the frame rate one, obviously. But there's also a high frame rate mode that you can leave on even if you go into resolution mode. I'm going to recommend you don't do that. At least from what I've seen of it. There's a little bit of an interpolation effect that you can kind of see when that's on. When you have it in resolution and high frame rate. It doesn't look horrible, but it was something I noticed, and as soon as I turned it off, even at the lower frame rate, it just looked better.
Okay. I think I have the high frame rate thing on. I should try it with it.
It has just like a little bit of that judder, like, you know what I mean? Like where it's like the character's moving, you can kind of see the frames like kind of moving behind it. It's not terrible, but it's there.
I need to see some kind of breakdown. I'm not sure what they mean by that stuff. Like normally high resolution and high frame rate are mutually exclusive in the way that video games tend to use those terms. So I wonder what is actually going on.
I assume there's some kind of interpolation happening there because again, it has a 120 frames mode if you have it in performance mode. So and that high frame rate turned on.
I have been playing in performance. No, sorry, I've been playing in fidelity or whatever the
fidelity is what I'm playing in,
and I don't mind it so far. It's been pretty good.
It just looks more cinematic also in a 30 frames. I know people hate it when I say that, but honestly, like I don't think the high frame rate necessarily matters that much here.
I'm okay with it. I haven't switched back and forth though.
I kind of like a 60 plus FPS gameplay and then lower frame rate for cutscenes kind of setup.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that. I think that's maybe a good compromise because I kind of agree with you.
To answer I don't know if you said this on air, Brad, but I know you had brought it up before. This does seem to be the continuous shot again of never break
except when you go in the menus. But yes.
I would have been shocked if they got a lot of mileage out of that one the first time.
I mean, listen, there are things where the screen will go all white because somebody is transporting through a door or something like that, but. For the most part, it seems like if you're going to see something, the camera is going to swing away, not cut away, and then come back. So that's what it seems like so far. It's still collectathon stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Get your ravens, get your chests, find your runes, get your hack silver.
Yeah, I kind of wish maybe there was even a little less of that. I just think it's not that interesting a design for what they're trying to do.
It's definitely less novel, having gotten all of it last time, and being like, oh my gosh, we're on the raven hunt again, huh? And there's a pretty decent upgrade and investment in resources you're going to want to do for the upgrade materials, the materials that you need to upgrade stuff. There's decent amount of skill tree stuff, so you're going to want that XP from all those little guys you're going to kill. I like it. And I wanted more of this. But it might be almost too much of the same to where the first one I must have spent maybe 10 minutes just throwing the axe and recalling it. Like it was so
It's a great mechanic.
There was a great blog post a couple years ago from one of the main designers of that mechanic, just talking about all the iterations they went through to make it feel amazing.
Yeah, so I must have just done that, throw it in the lake, run away, just see what happens. I didn't do any of that this time because I had done it already. You know what I mean? So like a lot of that novelty isn't there in the early stuff that we can talk about, at least.
Right.
So in the stuff that we can talk about, it's pretty much a Kratos and Atreus adventure that could have been tacked onto the original God of War with some minor tweaks.
It really sounds like this is going to live and die by A, how good the story is, and B, how much you felt the need for more story after the first one.
And changes that happen after what we can talk about. Again, there's stuff we are omitting here that has potential to come into play.
Yes.
That we can't talk about it.
We don't want to emphasize that the whole game is definitely going to be like this. It seems like there might be some other stuff, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah. They set some things up even early on that we can't mention specifically that could have implications for different gameplay and stuff like that. So it's a bummer we can't talk about it because it kind of leads us to saying that stuff is there. It has potential,
but that's all we can say.
but if you listen, if you really enjoyed that other God of War like I did, know that this is very similar. Had my cup drained or my bucket drained to fully be refilled? I don't think it had. So you know what I mean? So like maybe it was about halfway. So I think that's what I feel like. You know, does that metaphor make sense?
You think it might be just enough for one more game and then you're probably good after this?
Hang on, you're like a tankard half empty kind of guy? Is that
what I'm saying was if I fully enjoyed the God of War to the brim, by the time this game came out, maybe my thirst for God of War had only gone down halfway. And so as you're filling up the thing, it might start overflowing a little bit, and not the good way of like, oh, is this too much God of War?
Got it. Okay, I think I followed your path of the metaphor there. Okay.
Yeah. But you know, I think this is the most concise way to say it. I played through that original God of War and had a hard time putting it down a lot of times, except when I was doing collectathon stuff. And this one I was able to put down quite frequently.
Yes.
And was like, oh, okay, I'm going to put this down. I'll pick it up again later.
I have had 2 relatively lengthy sessions with it, and I'm not exactly jonesing to get back to it, but I'm interested enough to get back to it for at least a while longer.
You guys you may be unselling me on the idea of going back and playing more of the first one.
You don't need to.
Sounds like going straight from that one into more of that might be a tough sell.
If I had tried to go back and finish the old game before this one, I think I would feel a lot more burned out right now than I do.
So we can't talk too much about the stuff that's after, but to end on kind of a positive note for me, I am more invested now post that stuff than I was before.
Okay.
So we can't go into detail, but
maybe in a week or 2 we'll be able to tell you exactly what we're talking about.
To end on kind of a slightly more positive note, because I am enjoying the game. It's unfortunate we can't talk about some of that stuff, but I am more invested, and I actually want to go pick it up,
right,
and keep going now. That's God of War. That's coming out November 9th.
Yes.
And PlayStation 4 version, huh?
Yes. I was trying to find... It has to be $60. The PlayStation Store does not make it super easy to tell, but I don't think they could get away with charging $70 for a PS4 game.
No.
But they did say they're getting rid of the upgrade path stuff, right?
Yes,
Wasn't Horizon the last one?
Horizon was the last free upgrade, I believe.
So it'll probably be like $10 to get in. I don't know. I haven't looked any of that stuff up, or I haven't even researched.
All I know is when I got the PS5 version, it also gave me the PS4 version.
Yeah,
so
right.
Yeah, I think those codes they sent over were provision for that though.
Check it out if you're. I'm sure there's gonna be a ton of coverage. Check it out. I think it looks nice.
Yeah.
Though in my memory, it looked kind of like God of War on PS4. So
it's
but
cleaner.
I'm sure if I brought it up, it would not.
It's cleaner. There's some really nice animation in there, I will say. They continue to do very good work on that front.
The goofiest thing, all right, I have to say this, because the goofiest thing, and Alex, maybe you could back me up on this, they have the Spartan Rage mode again, where you build up the meter. When you pop it, and it must have been in the first remake of the God of War, but he just goes, and he just
he turns into Hulk, basically.
He makes these punchy sounds that are like comical in a game that's not really going for comedy, and it almost makes me not want to use that move, because it is just like,
it's real dopey looking. It always has been.
It's really dopey. So anyway, there's that. God of War Ragnarok. Ready to Ragnarok.
Is it? Are we finally out of the Viking thing after this?
Maybe this is it.
I don't just mean with God of War. I mean in general.
Yeah, I think they said that, right? Didn't they say this was the last Norse?
No, you're saying,
mean, like,
just
culturally, have we video games moved on after this?
Yeah. I just mean for this franchise, I think that's confirmed.
Yeah, I'll be very curious. I have a strong motivation to see how this one wraps up in the end. I don't know. I have no idea. I know some spoiler stuff has been getting out there, so heads up if you are looking up God of War Ragnarok stuff. But I have no idea how it ends up, what the state of the world will be. Are they going to just throw Kratos over? Is he going to teleport to Egypt suddenly, and then we'll have a new pantheon?
Yeah, and
of
Bayek
gods
will be there. It's literally they're just going to trade settings. Those two franchises.
Yeah, fantastic.
Kratos in Revolutionary America is going to be the really interesting one.
Kratos versus Elder Gods. I want just go, or like space cosmic horror. Go into. I want Kratos to be fighting.
You know what? Fuck it. Just have Kratos hang out with Jesus Christ. I don't care.
There you go.
Just go all the way with it.
Oh, but then would he become the new Jesus? Like, is that? I feel like that's how those games go, where you're just like, oh man, now you're the savior. I never wanted this, boy Jesus. All right,
Kratos versus Satan is something that I need to see now.
More like Kratos.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, that's it. End this now.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about Callisto Protocol. Stick around. This week's show is brought to you by Raycon. Alex Navarro, what do you know about Raycon?
What I know about Raycon is they make headphones that go in your ears.
Yeah, apparently for the last 5 years, they've become known for a few things. It says here, all-day comfort, a perfect fit, an impressive battery life, and premium sound at an affordable price. I've got a pair of Raycon headphones. They sent me a pair of Raycon headphones. You have also tried some Raycon headphones.
They sent me a pair of Raycon headphones, and they also sent me a pair of Raycon earbuds, which I believe are their new gaming line of headphones.
Yes, I've got the wireless gaming headphones. You tried out the wireless gaming earbuds.
Yes, I tried both.
They're both wired. Obviously, the headphones I had are wireless, it's right there in the name, but they are also wired if you need to put them into wired, and they charge up with the USB-C. Some of the key features they have listed here that I'm going to call out, they call it HyperSync Low Latency Technology. That lets you hear what you see lag-free. I use these on my PC. Gonna say, worked pretty well for me. Seemed pretty lag-free in terms of my gaming. I played a lot of Grounded with the kids. I needed an extra headset there. I used the Raycon wireless gaming headphones and seemed to work pretty well. How was your gaming experience or listening experience with the earbuds?
I use the earbuds actually also with my phone just to listen to some music and just kind of experience them that way, because I'm very picky about my wireless sound, and I will say the sound quality, very solid indeed. Nice.
There's also a 30-day Raycon happiness guarantee with free shipping and returns, no questions asked. So if you want to get in on the Raycon wireless gaming earbuds or gaming headphones, you can go to buyraycon.com/Nextlander. That's BUYRAYCON.com/Nextlander. And you can get 15% off your Raycon order. You'll also get $20 off Raycon's gaming earbuds or $10 off their gaming headphones. That's buyraycon.com/Nextlander to get 15% off and even more savings. That's buyraycon.com/Nextlander. And for October, there's also some special pricing where you can get up to $20 off. That's just for October. Thanks, Raycon. And we are back. And Brad Shoemaker, now in your most, let's say, spooky, your fear.
Wait, wrong. Hang on, wrong.
You get to
give
talk
me some
about,
lurch.
Can you say Callisto Protocol in a menacing way?
Man. Callisto Protocol.
Oh my gosh. You scared the crap out of me. I need to go change my shorts.
Oh,
there are kids listening to this. Well, the kids should not be listening to this. Sorry. Tell me about, you saw Callisto Protocol a little while ago.
God, yeah. It's been like about a month now that I played that game, which, how did that happen? Callisto Protocol, if you don't know, is the new game from Glenn Schofield and some number of the Dead Space developers. I don't know. That stuff's always weird to me, of like, oh, it's the Dead Space team is making a new one of those, but it's like, what does that mean? How many actual veterans of Dead Space are, there might be 10 of them or something,
Right.
It's very true what you're saying, but if I may pause you for a second, what would you shorthand describe this game as?
Oh, dude, yes, no, 1,000%. Glenn Schofield definitely somewhat famously started up Visceral at EA and made Dead Space as their first game. And then he left, and supposedly Sledgehammer, where he went, that worked on Call of Duty for a long time, had Dead Space developers there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there are some veterans of that game, but is it the entire team that worked on that game? Yes. Who can say? But that is definitely the narrative here. That said, this is the one they're making for Krafton in the PUBG universe. This is technically a PUBG game.
Though, did they actually? I thought they might have backed away from that somewhere mid-development.
I think it's still technically true. They're just not really like leaning into it. I mean, I don't know what you can say about the fortunes of PUBG these days itself, but
it's still going.
That's for sure. Okay.
Yes.
From a broad perspective, you know exactly what this is.
I do.
You are a shaved head dude in a prison jumpsuit in a space prison where everybody but you has become some kind of ghastly mutant monster.
Okay.
You've got a little gadget stapled to the back of your neck with your health bar on it.
Okay. A rig, let's say, some kind of rig.
Yes, and you can stomp the shit out of enemies on the ground. Like,
can I dismember them?
Kind of. So it's not. They're not full on necromorph ripoffs with like spindly limbs that you shoot off necessarily. They're a little more traditional monster or traditional like zombie-ish kind of monster with like.
Sure.
It's not. They didn't go that hard in the Dead Space direction, but like the look and feel of it is extremely that.
Are you in a? So the setting. Are you on a spaceship or are you on a prison planet or something?
They threw us into what they described as the third level of the game with like no preamble.
Okay.
So it was very much a gameplay demo, not so much story. They have put out some story trailers and stuff since then if you want to go look at it. I think, God, I should have looked this up before. Isn't Callisto one of the moons of Jupiter? Yes, that is correct. Okay, so I'm going to infer that I think you're in a prison on the moon of Callisto.
Okay.
There is a point. So like 80% of this demo was extremely, I don't want to use the word generic, but it was very familiar, like Aliens style, tight corridor, industrial, like grimy industrial space installation type stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
My demo unfortunately bugged out and I couldn't open a door that should have opened.
So
I couldn't.
Did you play it?
I didn't. Yeah, I played a bunch of it, but I didn't get to see the end of the demo. But I watched over some people's shoulders, and so it does. Toward the end of that demo, you emerge into this kind of big arboretum, like domed arboretum that's glass ceiling, so you can like see Jupiter right there in your face. Like it was kind of a nice effect. So it isn't entirely generic industrial type stuff.
What kind of weapons were you toting around? I
only had a pistol. I don't think I got another weapon before I hit the progression blocker. It is they said straight up like it's a very limited ammo type of game.
Okay.
So you have a baton, and so it's pretty standard third person shooting. The big difference from Dead Space is that there's a little bit more of a melee focus, and you can kind of in a timing based way dodge enemies' attacks as they're coming at you. Like if you sort of feint, you can like feint left and right and kind of. It's not exactly a counter. It's more of like a dodge that you lock into in like a canned animation kind of way.
Do they stagger or like overshoot the attack?
So if you get a 3-hit combo off with the baton, they will kind of stagger, and they'll actually they'll stagger back from you after that third hit, and there will also be a little crosshair will appear somewhere on their body for a split second.
Okay.
And if you can pop off a shot at that and hit that crosshair while they're kind of staggering backwards from the melee, then you get like extra bonus damage.
Do you have to manually line up the shot?
Yeah, it felt like it kind of locked to it a little bit. But
that's good.
Yeah.
You were playing with a controller?
Yeah.
Okay.
These were on PS5 dev systems, but yeah, like I was hoarding ammo and I never ran out, but they did say like, hey, this is not a shooter. Like this is, don't expect to just guns blaze through everything here. Like you really need to conserve ammo. The other big difference is you've got a gravity gun.
Oh,
which I don't think they ever did in any of the Dead Space games.
What was the effect of the gravity gun? Like to pull in or push away?
It's both. It's full on. It's just full on grab objects or enemies from the environment and like float them in front of you and then fire them back at something.
Interesting.
Did you have that Dead Space ever? It sounds so familiar, but
maybe
it's been in so many other games. I could just be conflating it.
Yeah, so that is exactly what you think it is. It's got a battery on it, so you can't just spam it constantly because it's pretty powerful. You can. I don't think I found an enemy that I couldn't pick up with it. Like when they're coming at you.
While they're alive?
If you got juice, you can just grab the enemy that's coming at you, yes, and then throw it at another enemy and like knock them both down briefly, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems cool, but it definitely is very familiar if you have played the Dead Space.
Was it, did you seem fragile?
I definitely died a few times. Like, the first time I had to deal with more than like 2 enemies at a time. Or even then, even when it was just 2 enemies, I was like definitely ate it a couple of times. Like it's not easy. It's
okay.
It seems like they intentionally made it pretty difficult.
Do you think it distinguishes itself enough from Dead Space to be in its own place?
Yeah, that's hard to say. Like I said, I was maybe a little shocked at how familiar it was in that respect, but it seems well made. I'm trying to think of any other distinguishing characteristics here.
Does your character talk? Like mumble to themselves?
Yeah, he kind of. Yeah, he's not a totally silent Isaac Clarke, although neither was Isaac after a couple of games.
Right, they did kind of shift that up.
I don't know what the story exactly is going to be here. It seems like you're maybe the last prisoner of this prison. There's a lot of like you're finding like kind of prison guard, riot cop equipment to use as weapons and stuff like that. And like a lot of the zombie monster type guys are clearly like prison guards.
Gotcha.
The only other mechanic I can think of, I didn't really see any of this. Maybe this would have happened at the end of the demo that I couldn't get to, but like the monsters can mutate into worse forms in the middle of a fight.
Okay.
And so there's some urgency of like, oh, there's 2 enemies coming at me and this guy's about to hit me, but this other guy has got tentacles starting to come out of his mouth. Like I guess there's like a weak point mechanic there where you can stop that transformation from happening if you're fast enough and precise enough. So yeah, like trying to think what else to say. Like their in-world hologram effect is pretty neat for like, oh, activate an audio log and you can see the hologram after image of the dude walking around doing stuff that was recorded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's got a cool like pixelated like or voxelated effect.
So is it minimal like UI again?
Yeah, the UI, the HUD. I mean the inventory and all that stuff like kind of projects in front of you. It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it is very much.
They seem to emphasize that in a lot of like the early stuff they were showing for it.
Like I said, the diegetic health bar on the back of the neck, like it's all there. Like
can you ping the environment to get your waypoint?
I didn't see that. I'm not sure. I don't know if they called Dino or not to run all this by him.
Yeah.
Before they
He's
went to
not
market.
there, right?
No.
Okay.
It seems cool. I'm excited to play it. It is pretty familiar in that genre, and that Dead Space remake also looks cool, but it is a remake of an existing game, so it's nice to also have this, which is a new game.
So this is early December, right?
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And then Dead Space remake is late February. So I think that's if they're still sticking to that date. The only date I see in front of me is February 27th.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Or sorry,
I don't think they
January
have backed
27th.
away from that one yet, but yeah.
Not February, January. Yeah, I don't know. Those dates seem to be fluid, so I'm not going to pin it on it. But this but Callisto Protocol is, as right now, locked in for December 2nd?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, $60.
Yes. Probably 70 for next gen. I don't know. I don't know if they've announced that or not.
I think it's safe to assume generally.
Hey, would you believe me if I said there are weapon upgrade stations scattered around this prison?
Well, it's finally something different.
And that you collect credits after you kill enemies and you can upgrade. It's a 3D printer, though. You can 3D print additions to your pistol and stuff.
That's what they warned us about.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's. I didn't see anything that was like profoundly new or innovative as far as this genre is concerned, but it seems pretty well put together.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to playing the whole thing. Me
too. I think I'm ready to go back in. I'm looking forward to more of this than I am Dead Space. Even though I really like Dead Space, it's just a prettied up Dead Space versus I'm interested in seeing a fresh take on it.
Yeah. It seems like they are doing a decent amount to that remake from what I've seen.
Oh yeah,
like expanding mechanics and stuff like that. But fundamentally, it is a remake of that game.
Nothing good ever happened out by Jupiter, man.
It's true. It's a bad planet.
Nope, attempt no landings.
Isn't that's where in Dead Space they went out mining, right? Isn't that out by Jupiter? Isn't that where
where was that thing actually? That's a good question.
Ishimura?
Either Jupiter or Saturn, I think.
Okay. Somewhere.
Yeah, those bigger
planets. Cracker. Oh, right. It was the Planet Cracker.
It's bad news over there.
God, man, Dead Space was so cool.
Dead Space is pretty cool.
It was such a fucking like I was just like, where did this come from? Like I had zero expectations for this game, and it's like, wow, Game of the Year contender.
Was that part of the like Mirror's Edge? And
that was definitely the early
like John we're trying new stuff.
Like we're gonna make new games here at EA. We're gonna invest in new IPs and stuff. And then boy, that didn't last very long.
No.
I mean, some of those things were good.
Yes.
Some of them weren't.
Yes. That is Callisto Protocol coming out on everything, it looks like, except for Switch.
This December, right?
December 2nd so far, December 2nd. Brad, what can you tell me about Pinball, the Pinball Wizard?
The Pinball Wizard.
Yes.
It's a classic song everyone remembers from...
Slightly problematic lyrics.
I played a little bit of the Pinball Wizard on the Nintendo Switch as I was traveling.
Okay.
It's an Apple Arcade game that came out a couple years ago, or maybe 3 years ago now, actually. So it's
2019, yeah.
Yeah, it has definitely been around, and a number of people have probably seen it on iOS already. It's a pinball roguelike.
Okay.
Where you're climbing this cylindrical tower, so each level is this kind of cylindrical, like a circular area.
Mm-hmm.
And they're straight up, like the doors of the room are the flippers.
Okay.
But the ball is a dude. It's the ball is the wizard. It's not a ball, it's a guy.
Okay.
So like when you smack him with the flippers, he goes running around, but like kind of as if he were a ball.
Okay, so it is an actual guy. It is not a sentient ball. It is literally a guy.
Yeah, it is a dude in a hat on foot, but he moves basically like a ball would. Like it's weird. The locomotion is not exactly like a rolling ball, but kind of.
But close enough.
It's hard. It's a hard distinction to make, but basically it works like a pinball game. Like, you know, if you hit it right just at the edge of the flipper, like he'll catch the rim of the room and just go all the way around. You know, and there's like bumper type objects that are like barrels and stuff like that, and enemies, and you unlock abilities as it's a roguelite. Like you pick up currency and experience on each run and unlock new abilities. It's cool. It's a trifle. It's $8 on the Switch, but it looks really sharp and runs nice and smooth in the handheld. It seems cool. There's not a ton there that I've seen so far.
There was another pinball game recently, right?
Yoku's Island Express, is that the one that was like the weird pinball platformer?
That's the like pinball Metroidvania.
Thought there was
platformer.
I had forgotten about that one. You're totally right. But there was another one I thought that was on the PC that kind of had a more retro look to it. And I cannot remember what it was called. And I'm trying to think if this is it, but
if it wasn't Yoku's, then I do not know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Did this come out on PC? It might have.
Was it? Okay, no, it's not. It's not Odama. I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
This is also coming out on Steam at the same time, which is today.
Okay, but this was a while ago.
Okay.
That I'm thinking of. I'll have to look it up. I'm on a Wikipedia page with a bunch of pinball games, and none of them look familiar to me. So I'll have to check it out another time.
Yeah, it's neat. It's got some cool twists on different stuff. Like there's like a bat that flies around dropping bombs, and to hit the bat, you have to like hit the bombs at the right time to pop them back up into the air before they blow you up. And like to end every level, you have to find a key, which might just be in a random enemy, or it might be in like an obstacle or something. But then once you get the key, it starts a timer counting down, and at the end of that timer, it just forces you to leave. So you basically have that time to try to pick up any items in the level that you've missed. Yeah, it's neat. It's like I said, it's pretty slight, but if you're into both pinball and roguelikes, may I recommend the Pinball Wizard.
I think I might be more into pinball than I am roguelikes these days, just because I haven't played as much pinball in recent years.
I'm into pinball likes. I'm into pinball likes. All right, that is the Pinball Wizard, as Brad said, $8 available on Switch and PC now.
Yes.
Or Steam at least.
Yes.
Also iOS if you're into that. Alex, you and I recently played some Scorn. Brad, you had played some Scorn previously to Alex and I previously playing some Scorn.
Oh yeah, how did that? I haven't had a chance to play since last week's podcast. How did the Friday stream go?
I think it went very well.
Yes.
Alex and I and Abby Russell scorned it up. We got goopy. We inserted our hands into all sorts of things. We put our fingers up every hole we could find. And I think we made decent progress. We got up to what felt like the first bits of combat in the game.
Yeah, I'd say that like the teasing of the combat before it really kind of goes in that direction.
I enjoyed the atmosphere. I understand exactly what you were talking about in terms of the what am I looking for? The obtuseness of the puzzles, the kind of what? There's like 12 different items you have presented me. I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
But once we found the first domino, I felt like the puzzles then collapsed fairly quickly. It was just finding the first trigger to set everything off in succession.
Like the areas aren't huge, but they're big enough that there's enough like discrete corridors and random rooms that you can find yourself getting lost pretty easily. But once, like you said, once you kind of find that first trigger object or thing that kind of sets stuff in motion, it becomes pretty easy to drill down on. The getting lost thing never really seems to go away, but that's just kind of the nature of the game.
I think the initial level was from the stuff we played, the one where you get the little kid in a shopping cart was maybe my favorite bit so far. And then there was the part where we had to put the key together.
Okay. Calling a kid in a shopping cart, what we ended up doing there, that is both underselling it and also really kind of underselling the grimness of that whole thing.
I don't really understand what happened. Listen, at the end of the day,
there's a guy in half a fucking almond shell, and he came down, and you couldn't get him out. And when you got him out, let's just say not all of him held together.
I wasn't sure we needed an arm. Something happened. We scooped. And then you put a key together, and we had to put this whole key together. And then some symbiotic relationship happened with this big monster who had to keep its hands in our guts. There's
a lot happening, and also it's all fairly inscrutable.
Yes. Yeah. But I enjoyed the time we spent with it. It was fun.
It's neat, and I think that, my issues with some of the puzzle designs aside, I kind of like that it is more of that kind of game. What I've heard about the combat stuff and what little I've seen from other people playing does not seem great. That is kind of the back quarter to third of that game, I think. And it is only, I think, like a 5 or 6 hour experience, so...
Is it from what you've seen, is it pretty much just first person shooting, like just real standard stuff?
You have like 4 different weapons I think you can use, and you kind of have to use specific ones on specific enemies, it seemed like.
I was running past a lot of the enemies in my time.
There's a lot more of those guys who barf on you that we kind of saw, it seems like, so...
Barfy guys.
Yeah.
It was fun to play on a stream.
Yes.
It was fun to experience.
With the puzzle mistress herself, Abby, it was definitely good.
Yeah, she's good. She's good at those puzzles. You can check the archive of that up now. That's Scorn, available on the PC and Xbox, also on Game Pass if that is your deal. It's $40. Alex, you played some more Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope?
Yeah, the 2 things I kind of played over this last week besides God of War were a lot more Mario and Rabbids, which I can't say that game has really shifted in any meaningful way, but you get into new environments, there's new stuff kind of happening around there, but it is a lot of the same, like here's a new combat puzzle, here's some new enemies type stuff.
Do you know what world you're on at this point?
I just wrapped up the second one, I'm about to head to the third one, and... it's like the challenge ramps up, I think, in a pretty smart way. It doesn't, like early on, it felt like I was really not having to do much thinking to get through enemies. And by about halfway through the second world, I felt like, okay, this is at least forcing me to think for a second before I make a move.
That's good to hear. I've played a little bit more too, and I had thought about bumping the difficulty up because it really did feel like, especially the random encounters, not the boss ones so much.
The random encounters are still very easy at this point.
Just a cakewalk.
Yeah. But the more discrete levels, the ones that are more like, here's your main encounter type stuff.
The goo levels?
Yeah, I feel like those have a little more going on and require a little bit more forethought.
What's your team? What's your go-to crack team?
So my main one that I've been going with is a combo of Rabbid Luigi, regular Luigi, and Peach.
Okay. All right, you got a healing, a sniping, and some busting them up.
Yeah, and like the neat thing about Rabbid Luigi is that like I put like the slime ability on him. So like that exudes like a big wave of slime that hits like any enemy within range and does pretty good damage. And you couple that with his multi-hit frisbee, you can kind of clear some dudes out pretty quick.
Okay.
And Peach is interesting because like she's really good at healing and protecting, but also her main ability is very much a shotgun close-up blast. So you get like a good combo there of here's a couple of up close and sneaky enemies, and then there's Luigi who does more damage the further away he is from stuff.
Well, she has that. You're using Rabbid Peach, you said, right?
No, Peach.
Oh, regular Peach. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting combo. I like it. And then Luigi's just sniping.
Luigi's just sniping, and he's real good at sniping.
What's your what's your spark you have on Luigi?
I have the fire one on him.
Okay.
I have the slime one on Rabbid Luigi, and I think I have that like energize, give everyone a boost of effectiveness one on Peach.
Okay. Fun. I like that everybody's gonna have their different perfect play styles. I feel like
sometimes I'll throw Edge in there. Occasionally I'll throw Rabbid Mario in there. But it just kind of depends on who has the least amount of health before I swap anyone else in.
Have you gotten over the Rabbids talking?
No.
Okay.
And I never will.
Ruin
my life.
That is Mario and Rabbids out now.
And the other one was Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights,
which we played on some stream. You and I teamed up for a little bit. I've also done some in my offline time, and I'm going to tell you right now, that game is not doing a whole lot for me.
So, you went back in.
Yeah.
Anything different?
No.
Okay.
No, it's so okay. We didn't really talk about Gotham Knights last week because I think we were kind of prevented from doing so.
Yeah, the embargo was up.
Yeah. We did end up streaming it the day after, but my early impressions of that game have not really changed. I think there's an interesting idea here of this. I wish it was more than 2, but you pick, from potentially one of 4 various Knights of Gotham that are not Batman, because Batman's dead. Let me just emphasize this again. Batman is extremely dead, and he's definitely not coming back. Them constantly referencing Lazarus Pits is definitely not going to lead to Batman coming back. There's no way. And the different abilities for the different characters, I think, are pretty well, like there's a good range of dynamism between the 4 different characters that, makes playing each one feel a little bit different.
You do? Okay.
I do think that aspect is there.
Okay.
The world design and the mission design, I think, is where it starts to fall apart for me. I don't think the encounters are that interesting. I think that the way they have sort of jammed in a lot of the Batman villain lore stuff and Batman, the first introduction you have to the Penguin is actually extremely flat, and I was kind of bummed by that because the Penguin is one of the most fun characters in all of Batman, and when you show up at his place,
his club,
he's just hanging out in the club, and he's just I don't want to talk to you, go away. And
he's sitting there doing desk work.
Yeah, they're saying he's gone straight, which I don't know if that actually sticks, or not, but it seems like he's just going to be a weird quest giver at some point. And I don't know about that. The Mr. Freeze stuff was a lot more interesting. But yeah, the world just has this very lifeless feel. And not that Arkham City was the most lively city, but that still felt like a much more engaging open world city than what Gotham Knights' version of Gotham does. And I just don't think any of the missions I've played so far have justified me wanting to spend more time playing it. It just all feels very samey and checklisty.
So the thing they do in the game is they set up, you go out, Gotham Knights, but I'm going to do it anyway. You go out.
Gotham Knights.
You go out on a night. You go out on a patrol.
Yeah, it's like Baywatch Nights. You go out at night.
So the Gotham Knights go out at night, and you go out on a patrol. You choose a character. You commit to a character for that night. And then you commit to a night for that night, and then you have a main story quest usually, and then a billion side things you could do. So are you saying, are you kind of focusing in on just the main story thing and not doing all of the?
I'm definitely not doing all of the side stuff. I'm kind of hitting it when I see it and it's nearby, and there's something it's okay, it's not going to take me out of my way to go engage with this, but I'm saying even the main stuff is not that interesting.
Oh, okay.
Some of it's longer, certainly, but it is not really that much fun. And I don't think the combat feels that great.
So that's what I was going to get to with the different characters playing differently. I felt when I was jumping around that they generally had the same abilities, but just different animations and, slightly different movesets. One person might be a little bit better with the range stuff. Maybe Jason was it Red Hood? Red Hood.
His name is Jason, I think. So you're not wrong there.
But even his pistols feel weak,
Yeah. They're supposed to be rubber bullets, but nonetheless.
I love all of the
the concessions.
Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, we talked about it in the stream. The gun kata, just ridiculous edgelord, over the top gunplay that dude does, except he's shooting rubber bullets.
I went between, current Robin, which is the Tim Drake character, who is pretty small comparatively to
with the bow,
and Red Hood was the other one. And I feel like there is some feel difference between those two. Red Hood definitely feels a little more lumbering. Robin feels faster, but maybe not as effective at hitting damage, at least in the early goings. I'm sure you can probably beef him up with the thousands of pieces of gear and whatever else that you fucking get in this game, because God, this UI and this like these menus and these loot systems, like it's just not. I mean, I understand why they made the game this way. I just don't like that they did it.
It's intense. Even deciding what colorway you're going to use.
I guess that's the thing in shoes colorway. Like that is the terminology they use.
That's the term for like sneakerhead type folks and like shoes in different.
So it's
color schemes.
So it's a scheme. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a multicolor scheme. Yes.
Yes. Instead of using color scheme, which everyone knows. This one's for the sneakerheads only. Okay. Okay. So yeah, I think my gripe with it, aside from some performance stuff and the UI stuff that you said, getting around the city did not feel fun.
No.
Like getting on the bike and driving to a waypoint. Like as soon as something was over 1,000 whatever units they're using, I was like, oh man, this is going to take a while.
And that glider tease was mean, because that's the fast travel, is that fucking Lucius Fox builds you a glider and you don't even get to use it. It's just a canned animation to fast travel you.
That is a bummer.
They literally had actual flying in Arkham City a decade ago.
I know, it's a bummer.
And I understand this isn't part of that lineage. This is kind of its own little pocket Batman universe that they're doing here, and they're not just trying to be those Rocksteady games. But I just don't think what they have here feels in any way really superior to that, other than the fact that it has co-op.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely enough shared DNA there that, bringing those expectations to this is totally valid.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a universal bat cycle for everyone. That's not unique to each character. And then they have, everyone's got the grappling hook. So the traversal stuff is pretty flattened throughout the four characters. Yeah, pretty samey. I think the thing that would have got me hooked a little bit more was more of the detective and story stuff. And I did like those investigation scenes. And when they come up, they're different and fun. They're not
that involved, but at least it's something different. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like them. I like the text they put together that makes it sound like the character is trying to piece something together in their head of maybe the code was part of the calendar, or like maybe this. And then you're like, no, it's definitely this.
Yeah.
So I did like that stuff, but yeah, it feels like a lot of fluff in it, and I don't like that. It feels like a lot of filler. It's not
good fluff. It's not like tasty fluff.
No, it's the bad fluff. So Gotham Knights, you think you'll go in for more?
I don't know, man. Like, there's other things I think I'd rather be playing at this point. Like, I might check back in on it at some point, but like right now, it just feels like there's not enough momentum there.
All the character, maybe I know this is the case in Mario and Rabbids. I don't know if I'm mixing them up. Don't all the characters level with each other?
I believe they do.
Okay, I've seen a couple people on my Twitter feed saying like, "Oh, I'm going to main so and so," but
doesn't actually seem like there's any reason to do that.
That's not actually necessary, right? Because you're not losing progression based on who you're playing.
I think the ability points do. I don't know about the
gear, maybe not.
The gear is a different thing. Yeah,
I think the resources for the gear might be shared. So if you craft something, you might be using that resource,
right?
And there is a lot of crafting for the gear. Gotham Knights, that's available now. Again, that is only on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and the PC. Is that current gen? Can we say current gen at this point?
I think we can definitely say current gen.
I've come to like new consoles because they are technically still kind of new. They're not next gen necessarily, but
new consoles and PC. I will. Let's end the game thing by saying I've played a bunch more Grounded. I feel like I am nearing a story conclusion in Grounded. Whether that will coincide with my play end of Grounded, I am not sure yet. So I'll kind of have to see. There are patches that come out for that thing that rebalance pretty significantly, and I kind of appreciate it because it feels like every week when I log in, something has changed, and that's interesting. But the building in it, single player building in it, is pretty rough. Multiplayer building a lot better. So if my kids keep playing and want to keep helping me gather leaves and mushrooms and resources, I think I might keep going with it. If I have to do all that stuff on my own,
not so much.
Just give them chores.
Just go make some slurry. I need mushroom slurry.
You want to earn your allowance.
I'm relocating, or I'm starting a new base by the pond base, and that's exciting news. And I don't know, there's something about the setting and the progression in that game which I really like. That it's not too. I'm also, again, I'm playing on mild on that save, and that's a good speed for. I'm enjoying it. I'm not getting frustrated enough with it.
Can you relocate structures? I know you can move like a crafting table and stuff, but like if you build a giant house, is that stuck?
It's kind of stuck. There are some things that I wish. Okay, I'll say this for the grounded heads out there, because maybe they can help me out. But
the grounded
heads.
Call them the groundlings, something. Give them their actual name.
Okay, the groundlings. I'm establishing my zipline network around the world, around the backyard.
As one does.
But I really wish they would tell you the elevation of the zipline you're trying to connect to, because sometimes you're not sure if the elevation is higher or lower when you're connecting that other zipline because of the perspective you have. And it's a lot of resources sometimes of spider silk to connect that zipline. And if you mess it up, you only get half resources back or a percentage back. And so sometimes I've made a zipline and be like, oh my gosh, this thing is not a high enough elevation where either I'm going the wrong way on it, or the angle isn't steep enough where it's going to take literally minutes to traverse this thing because the speed is not fast enough. So I would like to see an elevation of heights in centimeters if you want when you're connecting zip lines and your current one. That's maybe my biggest thing now, is I'm trying to build that network.
It seems like they're iterating on it
very
so fast
quickly,
that something like that might actually come. Like, I'm kind of shocked at how much just basic UI and nuts and bolts stuff they're still doing to it.
I did see in a grounded Reddit that they maybe scrubbed a lot of their roadmap to just kind of put a general tweaks and maintenance mode thing up, but I don't know if that's just typical release stuff, and these were the plans we had for release, and this is post-release, and now we're in maintenance mode, or I don't know. But I like the game, and they are patching it and changing balance stuff a lot.
It's very cool. I need to play more of it, but it seems like a pretty clear top 10 of the year kind of game to me.
There was a significant patch that came out that added 50% durability to basically all your weapons.
Wow.
So when you went back in the game, all your weapons looked like they were at 50% durability, but it's one of those things where they added 50% more. That's significant. Like, yeah, that's a big deal.
That's interesting. I didn't think the durability upkeep was that bad to begin with, but
it's kind of a pain in the butt. But it's a welcome thing. But then they nerf some other things where hey, you're gonna get into more damage on this, or this badge doesn't work the way you thought it would. Grounded. That's also on Xbox platforms, PC, Game Pass, whole deal. $40 for that one. Let's take another break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about news, a lot of Silent Hill news. So your Silent Hillings, get ready. Silent Hill heads. Your Pyramid heads. Oh, you Pyramid heads, get ready.
Get some more hill heads.
That's right. Run for the hills. We'll be back with some Silent Hills. Either way, we're going to come back soon. See you in a bit. This week's show is brought to you by the Rings of Power podcast. Alex Navarro.
Yes.
Are you a Lord of the Rings?
No, I'm at best a minor Duke of the Rings. But I know that Amazon has that new Lord of Rings, Rings of Power TV series going, and this sounds like they have a podcast dedicated to it.
Yes, the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast. Now, the text here I want to read their actual official copy here, because it says, go deeper into the canals of Numenor, the mines of Khazad-dûm, and more with the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast, because those words are fun to say.
They are, and they even give you the pronunciation right here.
Khazad-dûm. Felicia Day and several special guests provide an inside look at the groundbreaking series and what it took to bring Middle-earth to life. You can get exclusive interviews with the series showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, including the very first full breakdown of the season finale. Felicia Day also goes behind the scenes with the cast and crew to bring you stories and Easter eggs you won't want to miss. Watch The Rings of Power on Prime Video and listen to all 8 episodes of the official The Lord of the Rings of Power podcast for free on Amazon Music. You can download the Amazon Music app today. Thanks, the Rings of Power podcast. And we are back, and it is time for the news. And we've got the news with a twist of this time. A twist of Navarro.
Oh, I
Just
thought
a
you were gonna
twist.
say like lemon lime or something.
No, it's pure Navarro.
I'm drinking a lemon lime seltzer, so I guess
Oh,
that,
look at you,
that counts.
Schwepp. Oh, look at that. Just free. Just throw that one out there free for Schweppes.
Yeah, here's the thing. No one would have seen that because this isn't a video podcast.
Schweppes. Alex, you gathered up some stories this week. Gathered up some stories. Which, what do you want to start with? Let's start with Silent Hill.
We might as well start with Silent Hill because this happened literally like an hour after we finished recording last time.
Yes, very, very inconsiderate of them to schedule that stream right after our podcast.
The Silent Hill transmission, this video distribution, was posted on YouTube ahead of the actual stream time because Konami's back, baby, and they have not learned how to use YouTube.
Oh man, Konami rules.
No company has ever seemed more put off and, if anything, actively hostile to the idea of having to promote their products to people than Konami. And that has not changed.
It's actually become a little endearing to me at this point.
Yes. They should never learn.
So there's a couple of, before we get into the Silent Hill-a-thon, which is like this massive Silent Hill drop, is Konami just back as a game publisher?
To a degree?
Publisher, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
But like all of these projects are mostly farmed out to external developers.
Like there has been
right.
some loose talk about more Metal Gear coming down the pipes at some point, but even that seems like it would probably be some kind of external team working on it if it happened.
Yeah, the rumor mill had also mentioned like Castlevania and Metal Gear projects supposedly in the works. I think,
Okay.
what was it? It was like a remake of MGS3 in production at a Chinese studio that was not named, was the rumor.
Okay. Is that Snake Eater?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
'cause he eats
publisher,
snakes, you know?
publisher, but not necessarily development. This is all farmed out.
But they are presenting themselves now as a video game putting out entity, which they did not do really for several years outside of soccer and slot machines and that Metal Gear Survive.
All right. So I am not a huge Silent Hill person. It's not my genre. I know about the Pyramid Head and the radio static and all that stuff. I have played some Silent Hill.
You know, it's misty over there.
It's misty. It's foggy. There was that one I really liked that was on a portable system. Was it Vita? The PSP?
There probably was one.
Okay. I saw it at an E3. I liked it. Maybe it was on a GameCube. Could have been on a Wii U. I don't know.
You have no
Probably-
idea what you're talking about, do you?
I really don't.
Okay.
Yes, it was a different one. It was like called Silent Hill something somethings.
Could it have been Shattered Memories on the Wii?
That's probably what it was.
Okay.
That's a Sam Barlow joint.
Yeah,
So
I like that one.
That was
Okay.
pretty far removed from the era they're trying to get back to here. Although it is Bloober Team making this Silent Hill 2 remake.
Yeah, so that's what they kicked things off with. That was the one that had been most rumored. What is Bloober Team? Is Bloober Team involved in Silent Hill? What are they making? What are they doing? Dear God, is this really happening? And yes, it is. And specifically, Bloober Team has been tasked with remaking in modern technology Silent Hill 2.
So where are we with Silent Hill 1?
It still exists.
But not remade? This isn't
No,
like
there was that
okay.
HD collection that was very poorly received that had 1 and 2 in it.
Okay.
But I
what
think
was that,
that's
on
the last time.
360? I think 360 PS3 era.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
And it was not a good remake or like the HD updates. Like they did not do a good job on that one by all accounts. So
I think 2 is like the fan favorite, is my impression, right?
yeah, I think there's still definitely a fandom for Silent Hill 1, but 2 is the one I feel like I see cited most often. That and
Okay.
3.
Okay.
But it's Bloober Team.
It's Bloober Team. It's Silent Hill 2. It is is Bloober Team's last thing the medium, or did they
Yes,
do something
believe
after
it.
that?
I believe that was the last thing
They
put
might
out,
have
yeah.
jammed another Layers of Fear in there somewhere. But
Yes, I think there has been some kind of Layers of Fear release since then.
All right.
Also, it's on Unreal Engine 5, which
appears to be the remake engine of choice.
Yeah, if we're gonna
dude, I think it's just the engine of choice.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're not that far off from like 90% of video games being made on Unreal.
the mono
at this point.
engine.
It's kind of getting there.
The Monolith engine. Yes.
This PlayStation blog post actually specifically mentions that they're making use of Lumen and Nanite in UE5 for this, which is pretty exciting.
Those are Unreal 5 features.
Nanite is the virtual geometry thing they've got where you just load your high resolution assets straight in. There's no level of detail stuff anymore, no low poly anything. You just straight up take your super high res levels and
they figure it out.
And yes, models, and they just load right in there. And Lumen is the global illumination tool.
Okay.
Lighting model, which should be pretty rad for something like this that is very atmospheric.
I am reserving any heavy commentary for the people who are much more invested in Silent Hill than I am, but I will just say universally, every person I know who likes Silent Hill had the exact same forehead slapping moment of, well, god damn it, it's Bloober Team when this thing was announced. Because, I mean, I'll just say for my part, I thought the first Layer of Sphere was kind of an okay haunted house, fun house thing. I did not play any of the other ones. I thought Observer was kind of a neat divergence, if not a wholly successful game, and I think the medium flat out sucks. So I don't know that I have a lot of enthusiasm for them taking on any of this.
Yeah, it seems like they're doing the heavy lifting here, but I mean, they really go out of their way in this blog post to mention the Yamaoka and Ito, the composer and director, respectively, of the original game, are like in supervisory roles. I think
Yamaoka is at least updating some of his music for this.
Working closely with the original creators is what this says. So they're at least name dropping, like, hey, the people that ran the first one are still here.
The ones that are left.
Yeah. So I'll definitely give it a chance.
I think the more interesting stuff is the other things that came out of this.
Yeah. What else? So what else we got from the Silent Hill drop?
So there are two other games. There was there's some sort of like streaming choose your own adventure series thing. And then before I get to the two other games, I will say they also spent a very long time letting you know that the French guy who made the Silent Hill movie, the one that is reasonably well regarded as video game movies go, is back to make another one.
And is it a remake of the Silent Hill movie, or is it like a continuation, or is there...
It seems like it is a sequel to the first movie. They did make another Silent Hill movie that had Jon Snow in it, but no one saw it, and it was bad.
They just bury that one.
So they're kind of burying that one. Christoph Gans, maker of Silent Hill, and also like the Brotherhood of the Wolf, which is kind of the movie he made his hay with. He is back. And he spent a long time talking at a camera about all the things he's going to do in this Silent Hill movie, which I'm not sure has even started production yet.
Return to Silent Hill.
Yes.
We got to go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, before we move on, Pyramid Head has got some guns in this. I don't know if you saw.
I mean, he's always been pretty muscular.
Like, yeah. Well, maybe it's just that high res art, you know. It's like just the true power of nanite.
I also thought it was...
Pyramid Head's bulging biceps have never been more detailed.
I did think it was also very funny. They also had some like, hey, do you want to buy some figurine stuff in here? And when they got to the Pyramid Head part, it's the Red Pyramid Head. And they specifically refer to him as Red Pyramid Thing. And apparently that is the Konami canon for what the Red Pyramid Head Thing is. It is that.
Red Pyramid Thing.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you got to name all those enemies.
But we got two other games here. One that had a teaser trailer, but not a lot of detail outside of a little bit of developer interview stuff is Silent Hill Townfall.
Townfall.
This is
going to be your Townfall. Your Townfall.
I don't know what this game is, but it is Annapurna Publishing, and it is No Code, the developers of Stories Untold and Observation. Not
Observation.
Observer.
Not
Observation.
Observation.
Which I did like, Observation.
Yeah, that's the one where you're in the space station, and you got
that one, yes.
Sam, the AI.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are making Silent Hill Townfall, and there's not a lot of detail yet on this, except that they are just taking their crack at this.
Okay.
And the last one here, which I saw people get excited about. I don't know a whole lot about the history here or who's involved, but people seem pretty excited about this one. Silent Hill F. F. Literally the letter F, lowercase. So this is a studio, I want to say it's a Taiwanese studio, Neoboards Entertainment, and it is this writer, Ryokishi07, who is a horror and visual novel writer of some regard. I had never heard of him before, but apparently he's very well liked. He is writing this story, and it is set in 1960s Japan. It is not set in the titular Silent Hill.
Yeah, that's a cool setting. The setting is cool, and I guess the author probably lends some credibility or something here. The developer made Resident Evil Resistance, that multiplayer, not the multiplayer Resident Evil that's about to come out, the last one that came out a couple of years ago, and died rapidly and was not amazing. So I was like surprised to hear you say people were excited about this.
I think it's the Ryukishi connection more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other stuff for Neobards, I mean, the things attributed in the story are Marvel's Avengers that they contributed to. It does say they worked or contributed to Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes, which are great. The Devil May Cry HD collection, Resident Evil Origins collection. So, maybe this is maybe they're going to break out with this one.
Yeah.
Good for the studio.
But that was it. That was the Silent Hill transmission.
That's a lot to transmit. If you're a Silent Hill fan, boy, you're in luck.
For a company that wasn't making video games a couple years ago.
Seriously.
That's a lot of video games.
Do they have any kind of timeline on this stuff? I didn't really research each one of these.
I think the Hill 2 remake seems like the one that is furthest along, but they did not really get into the nitty-gritty of when these things are coming out.
Also, did we mention that 2 remake is not for Xbox?
At this time, no, it is not.
Okay.
That is PlayStation 5 and PC only.
I'm going to say that Sony probably threw some marketing dollars at this thing.
Very possible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's never been a better time to get into Silent Hill, I guess. I mean, look at all this stuff.
I'm not sure you can say that.
Silent Hill.
Yeah.
New games, remakes, you got it. It's movies. You got it. It's all happening. Let's move on to some departures. Alex, what about these Rocksteady departures?
So this was just announced today. So I don't know a whole lot about the history of Rocksteady games, but I've heard these names before, certainly, in conjunction with them. Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker, who I believe were early founders of the studio, are leaving.
Yeah, Sefton Hill is absolutely I think he was straight up the director of at least the first couple of Arkham games, if not also Knight. He was definitely like the name that creatively that you always saw attached to those games.
And, the timing on this is a little bit interesting because, again, Suicide Squad is in development, not out yet.
Yeah.
And that game has kind of had a long wind-up, and I'm not really...
Very long.
And they haven't really shown that much of it yet. So I don't know. There's nothing in here that indicates that there's anything involving that project that led to them leaving necessarily. But when 2 co-founders of the company leave at the same time, 2 things go off in my head. 1, maybe there was something there, some kind of static in terms of like their roles and what was being done with this game. 2, I'm almost assuredly certain that they're probably going to go start their own thing somewhere else.
Very possible. When did they get acquired by WB?
That has been at least 10 years, I think. Maybe a little less. It's been a while.
Yeah.
And they have not put out a great many games in that time.
I'm trying to find that information. Probably way too long for this to be some contractual thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's benign and people just move on.
Could be.
And they're like, "Are you leaving? I'm leaving."
Maybe the work they needed to do on on Suicide Squad was pretty much done at that point, and they were already thinking of leaving. I don't know.
They've got a big old PR press release.
They're very complimentary of the 2 on their way out. Like it's not a quiet exit. It is like a, hey, we wrote a big letter, and here are people from the company talking about how great it was to work with them. So.
Oh yeah, they got bought in 2010, so that definitely has nothing to do with this.
I mean, unless that's a really long contract.
I would not sign a 12-year contract personally.
That's very long. So yeah, best of luck to everybody involved, and we'll see what happens there.
Looking forward to seeing whatever they start.
That is speculation.
It's pure speculation.
It's pure speculation, but not.
But
let's just say, yeah,
it seems not unlikely.
Yeah,
and God, I loved that first Arkham game in particular. To a lesser extent, the other two from that studio, so goddamn good. Like Suicide Squad is not necessarily what I would have chosen for the next game from Rocksteady.
Yeah, but it like at least what they've showed of it, what little they have showed, like at least it seemed like it had some pep to it. Like there was some good energy there in similar, but in less annoying and promotional materials than say the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Though it seemed to be kind of going for a similar thing.
Let's move on here to some Witcher news. This is
speaking of UE5,
this is remakes.
This is a wild one. So
is it though?
Kind of. So the original Witcher is extremely different than Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. So much so that the original Witcher had an enhanced edition that actually added a bunch of other features to it to make it more playable in the time of the Witcher 1 or around the time of the Witcher 1.
Was that 1 or 2? It
was 1.
1? I know 2 got an enhanced edition. I guess
one got actual like gameplay changes to it.
Oh, was that the one where they gave it a third-person camera?
Yeah, it was or like an overhead or something. I can't remember.
The original Witcher has its roots in like overhead CRPG of the 90s type stuff.
Very much
right?
so, yes.
A lot that stance changes in the original Witcher. It plays very much like a more like a CRPG. I mean, it's an action game, but yeah, it played with a mouse and a keyboard and
this makes sense to me because like I remember The Witcher first coming out and it was just like this weird niche RPG for people who had read the novels in the original Polish, like it was not a mainstream thing, and then Witcher 3 very much became the mainstream thing. So like if I were them, like this makes perfect sense, of like, hey, we've got these whole ass other Witcher games that millions of people have never played. What if we just made those up like that one they did play? I assume there's a lot of sex in there also, right?
The Witcher one had the cards. I don't know if you guys remember.
I remember
the whole
the
thing with
cards,
the cards.
yes.
I saw people talking about sex cards on Twitter in the wake of this announcement. So
I'm always talking about sex cards. So
yes, and anyway, like it just seems like all the ingredients are there for them to be able to like sell a remake of 1 to all the people who played 3 as their first Witcher.
Yeah, but I can't remember what exactly changed between The Witcher 1 and when they redid it. It might have been direct control with or better controller support too. That's how different those games are. And I think I'm probably not alone in that those things make The Witcher 1 very unique in an interesting tactical way that maybe some of The Witcher 2 or Witcher 3 lost a little bit later on. So I'll be curious if they even touch that stuff.
Yeah,
in terms of trying to bring it forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. Like, do they just map the story of 1 onto the gameplay model of 3, or do they actually try to retain some of that tactical stuff? I don't know.
It was interesting. We'll see. It's a good game. It's like really good. I really enjoyed it, and the story is also good in it. We'll see. So this is being worked on by. Is it Fool's Errand? Fool's Theory.
I think that's,
Fool's Theory, which is apparently some ex-Witcher people. And I think, Brad, before the podcast, you mentioned that had been known during that like weird day of CD Projekt announcement.
Yeah, like the earnings call type stuff.
This is the Canis Majoris.
Canis Majoris, yes.
So I look forward to seeing what they do with this.
I mean, if anything, this is the Witcher game that feels like it probably needs this treatment the most, right?
Oh my gosh. I mean, or not. That's the thing I'm curious about. Or it's the most different. So if you're looking to bring it in line with 2 and 3, yes. But if you want to keep this thing different, then no. I don't know.
Let me put it this way. I bounced off The Witcher 1 so hard, I didn't even play The Witcher 2.
Yeah, Witcher 1 is very different. And I think the barrier to entry on Witcher 1 is it's a hard threshold to cross, I think. But we'll see. I know a lot of people are going to be very passionate about those changes if they change stuff in Witcher 1. So out of all the news this week, that was the one that kind of caught me the most of like, whoa, you're going to try this, huh? Good luck.
Mm-hmm.
Best of luck to you. And again, like you said, Unreal 5. So add some nanites. Get in there. Well, are we done with the remake news?
Kind of. In the sense that we're done with remakes that are getting made.
Okay.
We're not done with remakes that aren't getting made.
Okay.
One of the things that I've seen cropped up a bunch in the wake of the RE2 and 3 remakes, which are extremely well regarded, is what if they did a Code Veronica remake?
What if they did it? People have been asking for a Code Veronica remake.
Whenever Code Veronica is not on screen, people should be asking, where's Code Veronica?
And
I'm always saying this. I would have absolutely, if you gave me the choice, I would have absolutely taken a Code Veronica remake over the RE4 remake.
Which does look good and everything, but
it looks fine. I've said it a bunch of times, like RE4, original RE4 still holds up, like in terms of like Code Veronica, not so much in terms of games that need a remake to be valid in 2020, whatever we're in now. Like Code Veronica does not hold up in the way that RE4 definitely still does.
And so this is a Dreamcast game that eventually came to other platforms, but it is a game that takes place between the events of 2 and 3. It's kind of a side story, but it is very much in that vein of those games.
Yeah.
And it has its fans. Like I don't think it is as well regarded as some of the other mainline Resident Evil games, but there are people that really like it. And unfortunately, it does not sound like Capcom is currently planning on doing any kind of remake treatment for that one. The producer, Yoshiaki Hirabayashi, said that there are, as of this moment, no concrete plans to make Code Veronica in the current remake engine.
I remember a fair amount of kind of turn-of-the-century era cheese in that game.
Yeah.
For sure. Like,
what little I remember of it.
I can't remember the name of the sidekick who you can see in this key art from the game. The guy with the Leonardo DiCaprio hair.
Oh, yeah.
But it is very much a post-Matrix era kind of just like lots of backflips and gunplay and attitude.
I don't think I ever played it.
Yeah, it's...
I remember being okay.
I have fond memories of it. I'm not saying it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got Chris and Claire Redfield in it. I mean, it's a full-on Resident Evil game. In fact, it was the first fully 3D one. But yeah, it's a little cheesy. All I remember is the gigantic moth or butterfly boss from that game. Anyway.
Well, I don't believe anything they say, and I look forward to a Code Veronica remake in the near future.
Happen.
I feel like that will happen before they get to 5.
Didn't that come out? Oh god, if they remake 5, they have fucked up big time. Like I am a 5 apologist, but
5 is a modern game.
They should just leave that game.
It's not as modern as you think it is. Go look up when Resident Evil 5 came out.
Didn't Code Veronica come out for 360 or eventually?
Yes.
It came out for other platforms, yeah.
Yeah, like I think you can go, I wonder if that's backwards compatible. You might be able to play that right now.
Evil 5 is 13 years old.
That just needs some polish. That just needs an update. That's like an HD. Resident Evil 5 HD. That's all you need. Yeah,
Code Veronica X runs on a Series X and S.
Oh, it's available. Like could you buy it
for $4?
Okay.
For the next 5 days, you could get that game for $4 and play it on.
All right.
An Xbox, a modern Xbox.
All right. Good to know.
Just putting it out there.
I don't know if I'm going to do it, but good to know. Alex, let's keep on moving down here with the news
this
from
is for
a game.
You, Vinny.
Okay. Well,
this one's purely for you.
Speaking of never believing anything, what is this news about Kerbal 2?
There will be a release of Kerbal 2 early next year, February 24th, 2023. It will be coming to early access.
I will not believe it until that game is actually downloadable.
I'll tell you right now, I believe this far more than I would believe any real release date.
How many times has this thing been pushed?
At least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, so we'll see. Listen, I'm looking forward to see what they want to do here. I'm looking forward to see how they bring this game forward. How I've looked over some of the notes and the bullet points on it, and it sounds neat. The multiplayer stuff sounds neat. Them at least saying they're going to keep the modding stuff in is a good move, and we'll see how that all works out on everything. And one of their bullet points says interstellar travel, and that is neat. So all of that stuff sounds good to me. Early access, sure.
You'll at least try it out in early access.
Hell yeah, I will. I mean, and listen, if this thing is going to be in development forever, you might as well, right?
Yeah.
Might as well put it into early access. And
I mean, that original game was so shaped by the community that like cropped up around it while it was in development that I feel like this is kind of a natural fit.
Yeah, I wonder. So with this one coming out on different storefronts, I wonder if they will just have an internal mod system and not like a Steam Workshop support, because it's going to be in different marketplaces, and I don't think you want to split that mod community. The mods are such a huge part of this thing. I don't even think Epic Game Store has a Steam equivalent, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any kind of infrastructure on Epic for mods that I know of.
So I suspect it'll just be internal, and you'll have to upload stuff into the thing. But it sounds neat, and the multiplayer stuff in it is a welcome addition. I think that'll be cool to check out. I'm curious to see how that all works out in the ship construction in the multiplayer, because that could be extremely frustrating if you're trying to build ships with 3 other people, let's say, and people are putting stuff on weird parts on the ship. But curious, maybe you build your own ships. How fun would that be? Each build your own ship and go. I mean,
why not?
Why not?
Space race, baby.
I liked the original Kerbal.
Yeah,
it was.
Oh, I've heard.
Yeah, it was a neat game. That game's never coming out. It's supposed to come to consoles too, right?
I think so.
Right.
Not probably the early access release obviously won't be, but yes.
Okay. All right. Like I said, when it's downloadable, I will believe it. We're gonna wrap up here.
Well, no,
with,
yeah.
With
there's still one more thing.
Yeah, with our everyone's favorite. I don't want to use this.
Kojima Watch 22 continues.
What is Kojima up to? What stars has Kojima captured today?
Okay. Before I get to that part, I just want to say there is a pretty good interview with him in The Guardian as of today, conducted by Simon Parkin, where he talks about a lot of stuff, including some stuff about his childhood. He talks about the fucking bullshit that happened last year with the far-right or when Abe was assassinated, people like spreading his photo around saying he was the assassin and all that bullshit. He kind of touches on a lot of that stuff. But he also talks a little about his new game. And in grand Kojima fashion, he is speaking in the highest possible terms about what he is doing, describing this new game as it's almost like a new medium. If this succeeds, it'll turn things around, not just in the game industry, but in the movie industry as well.
World peace, everything is sure to follow.
It's him speaking in grandiosity the way that I expect Hideo Kojima to speak.
We don't have a lot of these left in the gaming world. The kind of Peter Molyneux's, the people who are out there speaking a big game.
The carnies. The old school carnies.
I guess so. Because I think a lot of them have fallen, like made big promises and gave development super hard and couldn't deliver. Say what you will about Kojima. I think there's still there's enough vision there to make the stuff he says interesting, and whether you like it or not is kind of irrelevant. He's out there delivering on the nonsense.
I mean, the thing that interview gets into a little bit is that he is very good, I think, at predicting, technological and sociological trends and kind of transposing those into his games. Where I have a little more of an issue with him is with the actual storytelling that he does. But the guy has vision. I mean, no one can deny that.
It's passion and creativity and vision in ways that I at least am happy to have in the
I don't want him to stop. World. Even if I don't love everything he makes, I don't want him to stop.
I'm always curious about what the next thing happening is.
Yeah.
So what are the nonsense we're talking about?
Well, the other side of that is we joked the last time we talked about Kojima about him bringing in Elle Fanning's son to get scanned and putting her in presumably as the lead in his next game. And then like a handful of days later, he tweeted out director S.S. Rajamouli, who, if you don't know him, he is the director of RRR, the extremely successful in the West Bollywood movie from this year that everybody fell in love with. And so he came into the studio and he's like, director S.S. Rajamouli visited Kojima Productions. We have scanned him. And they posted photos of him being scanned by their not the same crazy rig, but one of their camera rigs. And I've come to a realization looking at this and looking at the way that he has been applying famous people into his games over the last several years, I think Hideo Kojima is just collecting famous people like they're Pokemon.
Just scan everywhere. You gotta scan them all.
I do. I like legitimately. He seems to be approaching this from a collector's perspective of, if I can get a famous person in here and I can scan them, they're mine.
What is RRR in this tweet?
RRR is the movie that he made.
Oh, okay.
That was the extremely successful Bollywood movie that came out this year.
Got it. He just randomly throws that in there without any context at all.
At this point, it was one of the biggest movies of this year, like worldwide. So I think that reads to most people.
What is the 3 fire emojis, 3 rocket ships, 1 thumbs up, and a tiger emoji mean?
The tiger there's a significant tiger bit in RRR from what I know.
Okay.
So that probably has something to do with it. I have not seen RRR yet because I did not want to go to a movie theater.
Okay.
But I have heard that movie is a hoot.
Okay. Fun. A lot of song and dance.
Yeah, but again, there's definitely some singing and dancing, but it is also very much an action movie, and it apparently kicks ass. So,
okay.
But so anyway, my point here is that I think we have finally gotten to the bottom of why Hideo Kojima keeps scanning these famous people, and now that I'm realizing that Jeff Keighley is basically his famous people pusher.
I can get you this.
I can get you this famous person.
I can get you this. First one's
Come
free.
to my board show. Tell me about your podcast.
Oh, I can get you.
And I'll get you. I will get you Jordan Peele for your podcast.
I'll get you. You could scan him. You could scan him. He'll be scanned.
I got some of that Prime shit in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, who do you want to scan now? I need another scan. Who do you want? Who do you want? I think he does it for this response to this tweet, and this is exactly why he does it. This response that says, "Oh my God, great to see 2 legends working together."
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why he does it, because he is now, through the associative property, is now brought up into the 2 legends, working together. Finally, here we are.
Yeah. And he's definitely not making full 3D scans of these people and laying them around his house.
It's making little 3D printed models of them.
Like, I'm going to write a horror movie about this, because there is a premise here of a guy going around collecting famous people and then keeping them for himself.
What if he is transferring their souls in the process? Yes. The transference is happening. He wasn't joking around. This is actually happening. He's got them stored.
Mm-hmm. The menagerie. It's his menagerie of famous people. They live in his little digital world, and he gets to play with them however he wants.
I think Kojima is a legend. I'll give him
in
that.
Video games. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah,
I would apply that term to him. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
Grudgingly, yes.
I think he's earned it. I think he's taken enough risks and delivered on it and survived the risks that I think he's earned it.
He's too interesting to not be that.
Yeah. A lot of people took those risks and just couldn't pivot.
Yeah. Some of those people took those risks and got out, and now they're making NFT games. Sorry, Will Wright.
Aw.
I didn't want to put that story on here because I don't care about NFT shit anymore. No one else does, but apparently that's what Will Wright is doing now.
Well, where's American
Squander
McGee?
that legendary status.
Who are the other people who had their names on it? Where's American McGee?
Oh, you mean the new game gods?
Yes, where are the
Pretty
new
much
game gods?
Just go pull that PC Gamer issue from 2000 or whatever it was. Who was that? It was Cliff. It was Cliffy B, American McGee, I think Stevie Case. Somebody else on that cover?
Well, we know what happened to Cliff. I think American McGee fucked off to Asia and was making some stuff, but I don't know if it ever really...
Yeah, I mean, he was doing some new Alice games and stuff like that. I don't know what he's up to now, actually.
Yeah. The last time I really checked in with him, he was making that Scrapland game, and that's really...
Right.
that was like 2005.
Oh, wow. Was it American McGee's
Yes, it was.
Scrapland? Who else? Who are the game gods?
I don't think there are no gods in video games, only men.
I need to know. Alex Garden.
Yes, right.
Who else do we have here? Ken Levine was a game god.
Mm-hmm.
Again,
American
squandering his
McGee.
status.
You said Stevie Case. Is Will Wright? Will Wright is a game god? Is Will Wright not in a trench coat, though?
Oh. Is Sid Meier in there, maybe?
Brad McQuaid.
I feel like Sid Meier has it the most figured out of any of those guys, because he just gets to go to work every day, gets to put his name on all the games, He can do some creative direction, but he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
Sid
He just keeps
Meier
making
might,
the games he wants to make.
I think he still writes code, as far as I know. Like, he's still in there doing it.
That's the thing. I think he just does the stuff he likes doing.
Yeah.
Sid Meier is an original god, along with Will Wright. Sorry.
Yes, he's one of the old gods.
Yeah, he's an old guy with Gabe Newell.
Elder.
He's an elder god. Who's Robin Walker? Robin Walker, designer of Team Fortress.
Team Fortress guy.
Okay.
That's right.
Ed Del Castillo.
Oh, God.
Liquid
God,
Entertainment?
don't tell me it's on the... Oh, it's going to kill me. Liquid. Yes, right. Liquid Entertainment.
So that's...
Battle Realms.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I forget what he did. Oh, he worked at Origin and Westwood before that. So, like... I guess for that matter, Lord British is perhaps the original game god.
Let's see, who do they have as original
Lord
game?
is right there in his name.
The original game gods they have in this are Will Wright, Warren Spector, Peter Molyneux, Sid Meier, and Gabe Newell. That's who they have as their...
Well, I look forward to the next game where Kratos tears ass through all of them.
I'm the new god. I'm the new god.
I should have been a god.
I am the god. All right, that's going to do it for the news. Start your Las Vegas betting pool of who Kojima scans next. Who is the
who
next
will
to
be scanned?
Who's got? All right, Alex, you know Hollywood. Who has the lowest? Who's got the lowest return? Who's the easiest?
He's not
one?
getting Tom Cruise anytime soon.
Okay, so that's the highest one, right? That's like that's the big payoff. Who is the lowest payoff on the Las Vegas Kojima scanning board?
I'm trying to think of someone who has like been in a Del Toro movie that isn't particularly noteworthy. Because he's definitely going for people who are his friends or he thinks are like interesting filmmaker type people.
Okay.
How about David Harbour? The more recent Hellboy.
So not the Del Toro Hellboy, the other Hellboy.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Like you're looking for like whatever, I shouldn't call him an also ran, but I don't think that newer Hellboy really did much, did it?
No, it did not do well, and I think Harbour has found a nice little niche for himself in more supporting roles.
Yes. That's the thing. I don't think he's necessarily much of a leading man. I don't know. You tell me.
He's a very enjoyable actor, but I don't think he's quite there yet. He's not Ron Perlman yet.
Yes.
Who is the guy with the dogs that loves the dogs that was in that Ghost Recon game and was in Walking
John
Dead?
Bernthal.
John Bernthal.
He's already been
odds.
scanned.
Wait, by Kojima?
Not by Kojima, but I'm sure he could just call someone at Ubisoft and be like, "Can I have the scan?"
I feel like
Give me
you'd
your
see
John
him in the
Bernthal.
booth. I feel like he's like in the games enough and like of that caliber of like, seems like a cool dude.
He's very gettable.
Gettable, yes. I feel like that's a low return on the Las Vegas board.
Yeah, that's literally your like 1 to 1.1 odds.
Yeah, it's a safe bet.
You get a 20-cent payout on a $1 bet.
And a coupon to the bar or something.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for the news. Emails, we'll pick up emails next time or in the future.
I don't think my voice is going to make it through. Any
that's
emails.
fair.
Fair enough. If you want to send in emails, you can send them into podcast@nextlander.com. Podcast@nextlander.com. That is going to do it for this week's show. I want to thank everybody for supporting us. Going over to patreon.com/Nextlander. We've got a lot of fun stuff going on, and you can catch the Watchcast over there. If you want to hear about They Live, that is currently up on the patron feed for this week. Next week, we will have, is it Halloween next week? Yes, it's Halloween next week, and it's Halloween next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monday. What a theme.
What a theme. What a theme. You'll hear us talk about the theme, I suspect. We haven't recorded that one yet, but I suspect some themage will come up. So you can check that out over on the, if you want to join on the Patreon, or you can get that over just a week later if you want to just get it on your regular non-Patreon RSS feed. Never Been a Better Podcast. We just recorded the one for November. That one goes places. That was last night's one. If you want to learn all about Austin Walker's quoting theories of the universe from, who was it? Was it Alan Moore?
It was Alan Moore who was giving those theories.
Yes. Trying to explain to us about the Jello block of the universe. That'll be on Never Been a Better Podcast coming up in November. So Thanks again to everybody signing up over on patreon.com/Nextlander.
We love to have you.
Love to have you. Find a tier that fits right for you. Couldn't do it without your support. You make it all possible. Of course, there is one tier there that gets their names read on this here show, and that is the Mysterious Benefactors tier. And I am going to read those Mysterious Benefactors for this week right now, starting with Alex's Heebie-Jeebies of Unknown Size, John Richardson, Vornak, Vinny's Giant Booga Boogas, Kelly F., James Smith, Brian Lucier, Skywarp, John Hubbard, Sean Miller, Brad's Midsize, Hoodoo Voodoo, Evan Cook, Mark Wilhelm, JM, Jerry Lee, Gary Pejke, Robert Fisher, John McInnes, hashtag Bunny Slimes, Peter Reardon, Thomas Lynn, Jad Rita, Statics, Andrew Jackson, Raz Grizz Too Fast Too Furious, Brian Murphy, Terror and Agony Arg, Kevin Villado, Randy Duax, Mark Allenbach, Andrew Tiebkin, Alex Wu, It Me JP, Matt Clements Jr., Edward Cheek, Andrew Slosky, Steve Lynn, Matthew Herrig, David Campos, and Tyler Treese. Those are the Mysterious Benefactors for this week. If you missed it, you'll want to go check out some Elden Ring playing from Monday. Are we done with Elden Ring? Have we finished and gotten a platinum in Elden Ring? Have I been able to put down the Elden Ring? You'll have to tune in. You'll have to tune in to find out why. For that, coming up this Friday, we have a Patron's Choice stream. That means a poll will be going up soon. Use your power responsibly and vote only for the best content. That's that. Only for the best content. That poll will be up soon, so check that out and vote for this Friday. And then Thursday, come circle back around for another grab bag of video games. There is stuff to be played. We will play it. You'll want to tune in to check that out. Like I said, Watchcast, Ramblecast also out there, and you're listening to the Nextlander Podcast. We'll be back next week with more. Plenty of video games out there to play. Plenty of stuff to check out and listen to and watch from the Nextlander universe. Thank you very much, Alex Navarro.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brad Shoemaker. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Get some rest.
Thank you. Yes, that sounds good.
All right, we'll be back next week. See ya.